now you have a YouTube channel where you kind of talk, it seems like, to a lot of like Gen Z. Is that kind of safe to say? Gen Z millennials?
Gen Z millennial.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing that they are going into debt over now?
In America, cars, man. Cars. Everything's drivable infrastructure here, so you have no choice but to get a car. You need a car to get a job to pay for the car.
Right. They kind of locked us into that, huh?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you felt like you had to have a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom or my, I was raised by my mom. She always had a job. She had a job like, I don't think she only had like, it was always work, and parents would have been ashamed if they didn't have a job. Do the younger generations feel that same way? Like people that you're talking to, do they have that same feeling about work?
No, there's something really interesting happening in our culture right now that I cannot define super well. I always mess up with the words. Infantilization. Infantilization, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. A lot of people, I don't know. Everyone's like, I'm 19, I'm still a child. There's a lot of that conversations that I'm having on my show. And honestly, I didn't notice it too much until I started doing my show. And then, being a little active on Reddit or Twitter, it's like everyone's really acting like they're a kid until they're like 25 now. I don't really know what's
baby syndrome kind of.
I was so excited to be 18 and have my freedom and just go make money, do what I want, go to college, figure it out. And there's so many learning lessons you get during that time period. But now it's like I'm a child. Not everyone, but it definitely feels like a cultural shift.
Huh.
You know those predator like beating videos online?
Oh yeah, there's so many of them now.
Yeah. One thing that's I just saw yesterday on Twitter or X that was just kind of demonstrating what happens when Gen Z meets with those predator beating videos. They lured someone, as usual, to meet an underage person to beat the crap out of the person. Mm-hmm. But the Gen Z people lured a 21-year-old to meet an 18-year-old and beat the shit out of the 21-year-old for meeting an 18-year-old because it's a huge, crazy underage 18-year-old who's a child.
Right.
So we must beat the crap out of the 21. It's really weird.
Like, what are you saying? Like, that was just like they can't even do that, right? You're saying like,
no, it's just it's thinking that.
Oh, I see. It says 5 Worcester.
Oh, Brandon's on it.
Students charged after mob beats up falsely accused child predator, and that's in Worcester. Oh, I'm sorry, I know this place, Worcester, Mass. 5 students from Assumption University in Worcester are facing charges of kidnapping and assaulting a man for a TikTok inspired to catch a predator. Police are saying that the man did nothing wrong, as court documents state the man went to meet a woman who was listed as 18 years old online. So what are we saying here? Are we saying the school would not say what disciplinary action, if any, may take? First of all, the math department should take action against these fucking predators.
Yeah.
Because you have to at least be a predator.
Yes.
You can't just, it's so hard to meet people now. And this guy finally comes out of his house to meet somebody and he gets jumped.
That's crazy. But no, you're seeing it all over social media right now.
But what are you saying about this?
I'm saying that they think you're still a child at 18 and 19 and 20.
Oh, I see. You're saying so that you think part of that was this.
Yeah. They're talking about age gaps. If you're dating with someone 2 years, like over 2 years, people are freaking out now online. It's crazy. The pearl clutching's wild online right now. Lots of just like over sensationalized, just everything right now. But I'm seeing that in these conversations where people are like 20 and they think they're still a child. They don't have to. There's no responsibility yet. They can just lean on everyone around them, their family, and they just don't have to take care of anything yet. And that it's kind of hard to see. But that case that we just saw is further demonstrating that impacting other parts of the culture as well. Like we're seeing it across the board. Yeah. There's also this on TikTok, especially, there's like this victim Olympic stuff going on where people are trying to victimize. Like I'm more of a victim than you from this thing. And it's like, it's an always just stepping over each other on who's the biggest victim.
It's so funny you say that. I saw something like this. I love where you're at, man. Cause even some of the things you're saying, it's like things that I couldn't, you're just at this really unique intersection, I think. I just wanted to say that. I'm just realizing that more as I talk to you. But yeah, I'll see things. It's like, yeah, the fires are really bad, but realizing that it's been 11 days since your boyfriend texted you back, right? And you're like, and someone will be walking down the street with flames in the back, but they're making it about them and their boyfriend or something, you know?
It's crazy.
Or hope my DoorDasher's okay. It looks dangerous out here today. And they'll be from their balcony looking for their taco order, and there's buildings on fire. Like, what are we fucking...
I don't know, man.
Turn on your stove and also leave and go rescue yourself. You're going to risk it all for some raviolis? It's just, it's almost like people don't even feel like they're going to die. It's almost like, before I go off on too much of a tangent, whose fault do you think that is, that there's some of that mentality, right?
Dude.
Is it the parents, or is it just society? Where are you finding the fault of that, you know?
I haven't seen parents like talk about it, so I don't see them doing it. I'm sure there's always an impact, right? But I think a lot of the TikTokification of things, and I love TikTok. I mean, we got 1 billion views on TikTok last year, you know?
Congratulations,
I'm happy.
man.
Well, thank you. But like, even still, I've seen videos of examples of people talking about a story from their past, and they're just sharing a story about something that was just, you know, slightly inconvenient. And then people go in their comment sections and say, no, actually, you're a victim. You're a victim of all this, that. Like, there was some TikTok I was watching, I don't know. I think I was watching a reaction to it. Someone was talking about how they had an awkward hand-holding experience when they were in high school. And people were going through the comments like, no, you were right. And it's like, fuck me. Yeah. And they're just, I don't know, it's just this enabling.
Thumb raped or knuckle shit, like stuff like that. You're like, what are you gonna do, a swab kit now on my hand, you know?
It's very interesting. So people, it's just kind of this reoccurring thing where just everyone's trying to one-up each other on the victim scale, but also trying to tell other people that they're victims. It's really interesting. But we're also starting to see a little bit of a cultural shift in it, I feel like, where like not everyone's like respected immediately who comes out of the gate and just like, you know, tries to act like this big victim all the time, especially other creators that try to come out and be like, I'm a big victim from this other creator who like said something bad about me. And then you can clearly see when you like look at their social blade, and that video they made was their most popular video of all time. I'm like, oh, wonder why they did that.
Right. So now if somebody gets views off of victimhood.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, but
I think you saw, go ahead.
Well, the shitty part is it actually just diminishes like real victims.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I mean, we had a prime example. We called the episode, our titles are wild, but someone finally walks off financial audit. I guess that's actually not that.
Someone
title.
Finally, what you said?
Walks off financial audit.
Okay.
And one of her big, like, she was a perpetual victim throughout her life. One of her big things is she sat down and we were talking about creating a better income for her. And she said, my therapist told me I can't have a boss. So she can't work ever because she's not able to have any kind of authority around her because it would make her feel too
triggered or something.
Yeah.
Right.
So she just couldn't have a boss ever. Right. Also, she can't do any physical activity or labor or anything. So has to sit down and do her veterinary stuff from her house, but won't get hired. And half of her resume, by the way, was like activist stuff anyway. So like someone you'd be a little afraid of hiring because you don't know what they're gonna do to the culture of the company. So she's not gonna get hired, but she also can't have a boss. Right,
but she kind of low-key does have a boss if she's listening to her therapist, because then the therapist is like, well, you're gonna pay me. And you almost become an employee of your therapist. In some ways, I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but sometimes that will happen to people. And then, people are like, I can't lift anything heavy because, like, in a past life, I was a weightlifter or something who was injured. And you're like, well, fucking, we got to get the boxes on the shelves. Okay? Like,
it is difficult, yeah. And she may have had a physical disability with that, but then not being able to have a boss, like, you can't just, but then complain about how everything's bad. And let's be honest, there's no way her therapist told her she shouldn't have a boss.
Yeah.
A therapist wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times you'll pay and then but that kind of becomes a, like an emotional race card in a way sometimes where people are like, my therapist said that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was lost all over the place, so I'm not surprised. But again, she was also another victim kind of in her relationship. She was dating a dude for 8 years. They got married, but she decided 2 weeks into her marriage, she wants to try titties, just on the other side.
Date women, you mean?
Yeah. Okay. Just go to the other side and hang out a little bit. He didn't want to. So he's a bad person for leaving her because she wanted to date women 2 weeks into marriage.
Right. You can't just be funding lesbianism if you don't want to be. Yeah, it's like you
Yeah.
can support it, but if your wife leaves you, you shouldn't still have to be the guy funding it.
Yeah,
for a
or if you
woman.
don't want to be open, especially, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you want a committed relationship.
So he's the bad guy because
Right. So a
he
lot of
didn't
blame.
want, 2 weeks into marriage.
Yeah, people bag on Gen Z a lot. I think there's always that thing where it's like we're bagging on the next generation. But I was looking at a statistic the other day where Gen Zers, like the average job, they keep it for 2.5 years. And it's only 6 months less than millennials kept their jobs.
Sure.
So it's not like Gen Zers can't work or that they're not working. Sometimes that's a lot of the energy that's out there.
Well, the crazy thing, can you look up what Gen Z thinks they need to live? Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
This shit's crazy. And I'm kind of Gen Z. I'm like in that middle, so I can shit talk both sides. Well, that wasn't the report that came out, but Google AI is telling us something. There we go. See, Yahoo right there. They think they need $500,000 a year to be successful.
Okay, go to
minimum.
that. Generation Z thinks it needs $500,000 a year to succeed. Wow.
That part's crazy.
$500,000. They pay $4,000. Let me see. Armandahira Howard and her fiance together earn more than $200,000. A 28-year-old knows that's more money than the vast majority of Americans make. Yet the Los Angeles couple still live about half an hour's drive from their pricier neighborhoods where most of their friends live. They pay $4,000 a month in rent on top of her $450 student payment, their $400 car payment, and the $200 she sends home to her family in Indonesia. So they're saying that they need the Zillennial, she's at the cusp of millennial generation and Gen Z, set aside 10% of her income for retirement and has a healthy monthly budget of $500 for entertainment and dining out, which she said comes with a side of guilt as bigger financial goals continually loom. In this economy, she said a household income of $500,000 between two people would be very comfortable.
Very comfortable. It would be very comfortable.
Yeah, it would be very comfortable. And that's also there, man. That's Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's fair. But like the median household income in the United States is like $60,000,
Right.
One thing I think that tells me specifically, though, Zillennial, like I'm a Zillennial,
Okay.
in between that era, I didn't have a job during the Great Recession. I didn't need to. I was a kid. What that tells me, thinking they need $500,000 a year, is that there's about to be a big awakening when my generation and the people around me go through our actual first recession. And you realize that, okay, maybe living isn't about being able to get, 5 cups of coffee a day. That isn't the requirement for life. I want you to do it, yes. But for them, that is full comfort where, throughout most of human civilization, we're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And we are very comfortable right now.
Yeah. It's a comfortable world, man. I mean, America's a comfortable place, I know it feels uncomfortable a lot of times, certainly in comparison to other people's lives. But yeah, it's like most of us have food, we have clothing, we have a place to sleep. And that, internet in the world, that is opulence.
Like a demonstration of this, I was dating someone from Venezuela for a little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, exotic. And one thing she was telling me about our culture, I was like asking what's different about this culture versus the different cultures she lived in all over the world when she was escaping Venezuela. And she says, things are good in America because of how much we focus on the minor little social issue for everything. When you have the luxury to focus on
trans stuff or
not just that, like, okay, so Zuckerberg, right? Yesterday he announced that tampons are leaving men's bathroom or whatever. Like, I don't care either way, whatever. But the fact that is able to be such a major thing that we're freaking out about, when you have that in a culture, that's how you know everything else is pretty damn okay, because we're allowed to focus our energy on that and not just making sure that half the country isn't starving.
Yeah. Or sometimes that the media is tricking us too by saying like, this is what we should be talking about,
Yeah.
But
click.
Yeah.